Hello all, Scott Grove of GroovyMusicLessons.com here. Today you're going to do a review on a new amplifier that I just saved from the pawn shop. Why did I bother to save a tube amp? I don't know. No, actually I do know. Profit. These things go for a lot of money. This particular one, here's a 82, possibly 83. Hard to tell what their serial number dating and their pot code dating, their tube part dating, chassis dating, serial numbers, everything was just hard to tell right then. But anyway, this here's the Fender Concert 2. Okay, and this was made by Mr. Paul Rivera of Rivera Amplifiers. He had a short stint there at Fender, but he offered Fender and made a lot of things happen at Fender, like the very first channel switching amps they'd ever had. You know, they've had multi-channel amps before, but you can never switch between channels unless you just plugged into another channel. Okay, so I will save all those groovy details about Paul, how he came to be, how all this stuff came to be, for later on, because I know so many people on YouTube have so much more to do than actually learn history on these things, and they'd rather just hear it and go away. Okay, so anyway, these amps were originally back in, 1963, 64, 410s, the old concert amps. And so when Paul came in and wanted to put out, channel switching amps, he did it upright, boy. I still totally, 100% hate tube amps for a lot of reasons, but I'll let you guys hear this one. I've completely retubed it and everything, so it's good to go. These were offered with a plethora of different speakers that you could order straight through Fender to already be put in them. This particular one, the stock speaker for not just for the concert 2 amp, but you could have your choice of speakers for any amp. Okay, so for this particular amp you could choose up to like 10 different speakers that you wanted it to come with. That's what I'm trying to say. But this particular one still has the original, what I consider the best speaker that they offered in it, which is the Electric Voice, the EVM 12L. Okay, Series 2. I'll show it later when I show everything else, after I show you the tones and show you all the other stuff in the back and the effects loops and the speakers and the tubes, and tell you the story about a man named a man named Mr. Paul Rivera, and how he was hired, where he was before, where he was after, and everything about these amps that a lot of people probably just don't know. Okay, so I'm going to stand my silly booty up, bring the camera in on the amp so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so again, it's a single 12 amp, and I know I'm going to make all of you sick with my horrible skills here, or lack of, but it's all I can do with what I have. Okay, so let's just move the whole damn tripod. Okay, 2 inputs, they're not separate in any way, they're just 2 inputs. First channel, you will see that we have, okay, typical Fender looking layout. God, I can't adjust this damn thing. Okay, I'll live with that. Okay, you've got your volume, and you got a push-pull for your bright. You got your treble and your bass, and that is it for channel 1, you would think. Okay, what also affects channel 1, okay, you've got your typical on and off, your standby, and then your 3-way polarity switch on the back. Also on channel 1, the reverb, the spring reverb, which is foot selectable on the foot switch I have down here at the bottom, which are impossible to find. And then the presence control, your higher than highs, actually runs on both channels. That's the only feature that people were not happy with on this amp, that it was a dedicated knob. But actually, this is the only knob, and the reverb, these 2 knobs run on both channels. So you cannot switch between channels and have a different reverb setting and a different presence setting. Okay, so channel 2, what a setup. Gain, master, volume. Okay, so you have a 3-stage gain structure for your lead channel. Okay, so it's just a master volume like you would expect for the channel. The gain is very slight in the way that it acts, but it gives you that perfect breakup that you're looking for at any volume. And then again, of course, the amp will break up at a certain volume. But the amp is 60 watts RMS. Okay? And that's tube power. Is there actually a difference between tube power and, 60 watts RMS tube and 60 watts solid state power? Put it this way. Basically, in a word, no. Do they sound different? Yeah, but a watt is a watt. You measure the 60 watts on here and you put the output right into the meter and measure it at 60 watts, it will read 60 watts. You put a 60 watt solid state amp in there, it will read 60 watts. It is not the wattage that determines how loud, how everything is. I will do that in another video, but just so you guys know, no, wattage is not what determines how loud your amplifier is. And then your volume over here actually brings up what would normally consider the gain. So there's where your distortion is. Here's where your natural sounding overdrive is. Just barely. It sounds like, just an amp turned on 10, but it sounds like a Fender Twin turned on 10. Okay? So it's clean, but yeah, it's got a little bit of oomph. But right here is where you get your distortion from. Otherwise, you have your same treble, mid, and bass for this channel. But you also have a pull for the mids, push-pull. Rivera was huge, as was Mesa Boogie, which is what Paul was trying to compete with at the time. Mesa Boogie was just the amp to have. So Mesa Engineering had push-pull on everything. Paul Rivera's stuff ended up with a push-pull pot on like every single one of his amps that he would come to put out. Okay, so there's the amp. Again, single 12 Electro Voice EVM L12 2 speaker. 200 watts RMS. The amp comes in about almost 85 pounds. So she's a heavy one. And mercy. And when I got it, it had a big old Craftsman, big old monkey wrench stuck to the back of the speaker, had a bunch of caramel corn and everything inside of it, blah blah blah. So it took me about 2 hours to clean everything out and retube it and get it back to good. Okay, so for the $2.99 investment and then the money for the tubes, then they easily go for $1,000 or better depending on the condition and the speaker. So with that speaker you're looking at better. Okay, down here on the floor you will see, is that it? Yep, that's the foot switch. So you've got your reverb and your lead channel, okay, on there. So nice, pretty, operates well. The amp cannot utilize those functions. As far as the reverb, you cannot even have reverb if you don't have the foot switch. It's impossible. Okay, so you have to have the foot switch, and that foot switch is a bitch to come by. Channel switching you can have, because right here on the volume on the lead channel you can do a push-pull and pull it out and it'll switch to the other channel. But reverb will remain off, period, if you do not own the foot switch. Okay, so just letting you know that. Okay, here's the thing, one of the big pet peeves I have about tube amps. Okay, I've just got it on standby right now, so I'm just going to turn it off of standby. This is just regular running volume. I mean, I mean, not even hum from the amp being turned up, it's just the hum from it just being a tube amp. Okay, so that's just natural hum. Now you put a microphone in front of that and run it through the PA and get up to the level you need it. That's loud. Of course my other amps don't make a single noise, no matter what volume they're on. You can't even tell they're on, so that's, I know it's a stupid beef to have, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so I'm running, I'll run a couple different guitars through here and shut up for all the people I said I would actually shut up for. The custom shop Strat Ultra Plus thing, then I'll grab the 76 Explorer, I guess I'll grab that down for the distorted stuff. Okay, so here's the clean sound in position 2, so just your typical Strat quacky. Now this sucker has some volume. I will shut off the reverb for the people who hate reverb. Okay, what you're hearing that might sound like reverb is that row of acoustics right above it. Okay, so anything you're hearing is simply those ringing. So, I mean, it sounds really, really good. It sounds like you would expect it a Fender amp to sound. There. I don't know what the little tiny speaker in this camcorder is going to do, and I don't know what your dime-sized laptop speaker is going to sound like, but when I goose this, I don't know if it's going to be any difference volume-wise on your end or not. Okay. I'm up on 8. This is going to be really flippin' loud. Okay, so that was up on 8. Okay, we have a bright knob. Pull for bright. Off. On. Okay, I'll turn the bright back off. Let you hear the frequencies of the treble. Okay, and the bass I had on 10. And here's 0. It's one of those things that basically goes from 0 to 10 by the time it goes to 3. There's 3. And then from 3 to 10 it's basically already wide open. So nothing with the bass. Bass on 3. Bass on 10. So no difference. So from 3 to 10 it does nothing. Typical Fender. Okay? Okay, so that's channel 1, your main clean channel. And again, as I said, the presence over here is active. So I've got it on 6.5. Let's turn it off. So it definitely has some high end to it. And I like that nice sparkly top end. So I would actually, for the clean channel, pull for the bright. I'm finger picking me. Okay, so that's what I would probably use, and then of course I would kick in the reverb, which we haven't heard yet. That's with the reverb on 2. Hear the classic reverb. Okay, now if you want to hear the real reverb of Fender, God, looks like the Dick Dale Strat almost, don't it? Okay, so I don't even know what I'm playing there, but there's the reverb. Go to the neck setting, and I'll go to the second channel. So here we are in the neck. Clean setting here on the Concert 2. Now we're going to the other side of the world. I will get rid of the reverb for those who hate it, and I'll add it again later. Channel 2. Okay, I will go to the 2 setting again in the Strat. So middle and bridge. Give it a little more juice. How's that? There's that neck position, nice. Okay, so it's got that sound. Okay, so it sounds like a Fender on steroids, and it sounds like Rivera trying to get his boogie on, so trying to compete with what was getting ready to happen, or what was already happening with all the other manufacturers. But now you can step on a foot switch and go from to. Okay, now this amp is completely point-to-point soldered, wired, so it's, you know, the very last of Fender amps to ever have been done so. Okay, back then. Okay, and it's the, like I said, the first amps ever to offer channel switching, and still point-to-point wiring on them. Okay, so all hand done. You got 9 tubes in there. Your 2 6L6s and your 2 12AX7s and your other 5 pre's. And let's see. Let's show you some more distortion on. Okay, the gain is on 10. The master is on 6. The volume, which they call for whatever reason, is on 3.5. That's where we get our distortion from, or some more crunch. Okay, so I'm going to turn the volume up to 7. position. So from clean, channel 1 to channel 2. Okay, channel 1. Again, there's no reverb on that, it's all them acoustics in A ringing. Now channel 2. So you can tell that I'm running a good volume in here if I'm ready to feed back at this. So that's a 60 watt amp up on, well, 6 on that channel, but we have more room to go on the volume. Not just the master, but the actual volume for distortion. Let's go up to 8. Okay, 9. Here's where it really starts to take control of distortion, basically. Super overdrive. Neck position. Okay, and now with the actual volume on 10, not the master, but just the gain stages. So the actual gain and the other volume. This is just nuts. Neck pickup. Now I'm going to bring some of this back. Okay, so going back to the 2 position on the Strat. Now the pull for the mid-range. Tons of mid-range boost here. Now without it. With it. Okay, now the frequencies of these, let's turn this back. Of course, presence is still active. Back to where she was. Bass. Same reaction. 0 to 3 is the same as 0 to 10. I'm running it on 10. Mids I've got on 8.5. But here's what they sound like. They work from about 8 to 10. So there's nothing from really 1 to 8. Here comes 8. Now. So from 8 to 10 they do something. And they will slice through you like a knife. Treble. For in here right now, and reverb with that channel. Okay, so there's what we got going on. Let's put in a humbucker guitar. Listen to that now. Put it on standby. Shut that humming noise up. No, it's not the single coils from the guitar. It's just a tube amp. Like I said, it's just one of my pet peeves. Why I'm not real fond of them. One of many reasons actually, but I will do another video on that compared to solid state or modeling digital or what have you. So since this is sitting here for now, yeah, I'll do my pros and cons and let everybody yell for a little bit. Okay, so we got the 76 Explorer here, the real deal. Okay, and let's turn it back on. Okay, go to the clean channel. Get rid of the reverb. Okay, of course a lot darker sounding, but we will change tones as needed. So here we are clean on, let's see, turn the bright off. I've got it up on 5. Well, we'll keep it about 4.5. So naturally the humbuckers are already taken over and overdriving the input stage. That's both of them. Let's go to the, okay, here's both. Actually, that is in the distorted channel, so pardon me for that one. Okay, channel 1. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry for the mess. Okay, I knew it sounded slightly fudgy. Neck. And bridge. I will add a little more treble in to brighten up the guitar. Okay, now back to the lead channel. I'm sorry for getting that messed up at the beginning. Both pickups with the volume, the gain is still at 10. Here's the other volume to give it some more stuff. That's in the middle. Here's the neck. Bridge. Okay, so some of that back down to make it just nice and easy, like a Sunday morning. What else can I tell you? It is what it is. Back to the clean. With the verb. Okay, so there's that. Now the one thing that I will be showing you here in a little bit Well, I'll show you now actually how it works, but you won't be able to see it till after I start talking all the history on this. But in back there is the effects loop, and you can actually have the volume knob back there and a return volume knob. Now if you take a short jumper cable guitar cord and go from out to in on each of those, you can use those two, the send knob and the return knob, and turn this amp into a whole different animal. Okay, so they are back here on the back. Are they meant to be used like this? If you want. Everybody seems to know about them, but they definitely turn it into a whole different deal. Okay, I'm going to turn up the send. That's how much volume it adds. So here it is at about normal without, if these weren't connected. Turn that reverb off. So it about doubles the power of this. Which is fine because the speaker is 200 watts RMS, that EV. So it'll handle more than two of these amps right into that one speaker. Okay, so if I turn that one up a little bit, you'll hear the hum getting louder. And we're still in the clean channel, I promise. And do the return knob, which is over here. If I had my hand on it, there it is. So here's the effects return. That's still the clean channel. Now the other channel. See, so it just sends it way over the edge. So it's just like putting a slave on there and just doubling the power of this thing. But it goes it makes the whole amp a whole different thing to work with. Okay, so if you want to do that and put that cord across there, I put it back there because I want all the flexibility I can get out of any amp. So I leave it back there and keep it on where it would normally run, even if it weren't back there. But then if I want to go crazy with it, I have the ability to do so big time. So that is a major, major jump. Again, the send on the effects loop. Clean stuff. Nothing but clean. Clean power. But here's about where it's normally at with volume on 4.5. And here's just using that. I don't know if you're getting the full volume change on your end or not yet, but I'll find out on the playback later. But I could take it way down to nothing. But it's the other side, the return, that will. Again, that's still the clean channel. Okay. And that's acoustic guitars ringing still. So, lots of extra juice to be had back there. Okay, I'm going to put the guitar down. You've heard the amp. Again, that's a Concert 2. I will put her... Actually, I'll just shut her down. Okay, and there you go for the folks that just want to hear things first. And if you don't want to learn anything, now it's time for you to go away. People who want to learn a little bit about the amp can stick around, because as I was talking about these things, put the Explorer away. And okay, now they did, what happened was, okay, try to get this, you don't really need to see me, but Paul Rivera was working over at Valley Arts Guitars, making great stuff, and then they eventually gave it up to Samick. But anyway, in 1981, Fender made him an offer, and he took off and went to Fender, okay, in '81. And then, pardon me, get my morning joint. That's my joints. So he took the job with Fender, and they loved everything he was doing, but they never let him in on the fact that they were getting ready to sell. CBS was getting ready to sell. So he wasn't there long. These amps started coming out in 1982. All of his amps started coming out in '82. You'll see in the '82 and '83 more than anything catalogs where he was going to the rack mount amplifier heads for Fender, and he has some. They were made, but you can't get a hold of them. There might be one or two on the market out there somewhere that might have been his at one point, but they were in the catalog for everybody to look at. But everybody was going with rack mount stuff, so you had Bruce Kulick of Kiss. I mean, you had everybody that were using Rivera amps later, after Fender sold, without even telling Rivera that they were going to do so. But anyway, the Fender stuff, they did make the rack mount stuff, but they never put it out there. They made enough of them to know that they would work, and Rivera, it's like his very first amp head after Fender was sold and gone. Paul Rivera's first amp head was just like a 4-space rack mount head, 2 big channels and nothing but push-pull knobs all the way across, but so was the Fender stuff. Okay, so his whole thing was just mind-blowing, and tons of effects loops and different things that you could do, patching beyond belief, because everything was stereo back then. Everybody had stereo processing, everybody was doing the racks, so everything had to be in racks. So that stuff was actually in the catalogs, and a few made, like I said. But the first thing he did was took all these old amps from the 60s, and the 50s, the Princetons, and 10 different amps, and then offered them with all the different speakers. You could have the Celestians, or the Eminence, or the Fender speakers, or the CTS, or the whatever you wanted, or the EV speakers. So he came aboard, like I said, in 1981, started putting out these. You'll notice on the front of here that it just simply says Concert. Okay, it doesn't say Concert 2, even though it is a Concert 2. 2 of the amps did not have the moniker or the label where it had the Roman numeral 2 right here. This was one of them. He just kept it saying Concert. Okay, and plus this amp is one of the only that I've seen that actually has the EV badge, the EVM for the speaker. Even the other ones with it. I mean, I don't know if you can see through the grill cloth, but it doesn't matter if you can or not. Oh God, I can't find, where's the switch? It'll be right in the middle there somewhere. But right about there is where the EV thing is. I'll flip the whole amp around in just a second and show it to you. But anyway, so he took all these amps, just souped them up, brought them back from their days. The Concert, like I said, of course, back in '63, '64, had the 410s and so forth. But finally we have channel switching, we have all kinds of cool stuff. So Paul Rivera brought all that to him, and then of course '85 they were sold. So he's off, he's gone, everybody's gone. They're out of the Fullerton factory, it's done. Okay, so all the other stuff that was to come later was not Paul's doing, so he just did as much as he did there. I'm trying to just see how much time I can sit here and yak. Another 20 minutes, okay. I will yak for 20 more minutes. I just give these an hour. I know it's way too long, but I love to talk because I never see anybody. I stay holed up here like a little mole. But it's just my fears of going outside and being outside that keeps me inside. But the guy just came out with some really cool stuff. These, I mean, the amp sounds great, there's no denying that. I wish you were right here and could feel how it sounds, because I mean it pushes some air. I mean, you throw a 412 under this, I almost did that today for this, but you toss a 412 under this or 212 and it just floors you I mean, the juice in that thing, and you get going with the back of this, which let me go ahead and do. I know I should just pause and do all that stuff because everything's going to freak out when I try to flip it, but yes, it's that heavy. It's honestly that heavy. Okay, so here's the back. I will pull this so you can see it. This is the jumper cord. Okay. So here's the back of this puppy. Let's take a look, okay? And this, you know, for those techies that like to stick around and learn stories. And okay, there's my favorite part of this. I used to use the old Electric Voice SRO speakers and everything when I was little. Okay, so you can tell it's the EVM Series 2, 8 ohms, there's your 200 watts, blah blah blah. Well, you know it's still made in the USA. Okay, so that's your speaker, that's original of course. Back is what it is. It's got the reverb tank on the bottom, same old reverb, nothing new. Okay, here's the back where things started to get different, then they got really different on some of the other models that he did. Okay, let's just go across and see what we have. God, I'm so horrible at this whole camera thing. Okay, so over here, of course, we just have a hum balance control. Maybe I'll try that and try to get rid of the damn hum. Okay, these are the 2 foot switches. This here's for channel switching, and this here's for your reverb. And like I said, they have to be plugged in there, or the reverb will not work on the amp at all. There's no way to get it to work without it. And the channel switching will work via a push-pull on the front. Right here is just your reverb send and return on these 2. Okay, the next things that we have were what were really cool. Right there you go, you have your send and your return. That's these guys, your send level and your return. So there's your effects loop. It says it up under here, but so be it. I'll let you look. So all I did to get all that extra juice and turn it into a super amp instead of just a slightly crunchy Stevie Ray amp as it is. And Stevie Ray did use one of these. At a point he was using one of these along with a bunch of other things, but he had one of the concert tubes in his rig. So I'm going from the output to the input with a little guitar chord. And there's your send. That's the one that just made it clean go up. And then the return, that's the one that gave you major gain. Okay, so you get some major gain going there. Here's a line recording send right here, so your line out. Okay, nobody ever uses them, but there they are. Okay, that's typical stuff here, nothing different. The 2 speaker outputs, ground lift, and then just a place to plug something in if you need it. And finally, just the fuse over there. Okay, so I don't have the back off so you can see all the tubes and so forth, but I will read the tube thing to you. Okay, of course you have the 2 6L6GCs, the 2 12AX, or they actually use the 12AT7s. I've got 12AX7s in there. And then the 7025s, there's 5 of those. Okay, and then again 2 of the 12AT7s, which I put 12AX7s. Same thing. Serial number F2 is supposed to mean that it's 1982, is what they say, but these jump all over the place. So these are the 80s amps are the hardest Fenders to pinpoint down. There's a guy online that, there's a serial on this for the guy who wants it. There's a guy online that keeps track of all of these Rivera made amps from Fender and tries to date them all, since Fender didn't keep track of any of them. So there's the back of the amp, and like I said, she's just a monster heavy sucker, man, and that speaker weighs so much, but the tone on that speaker is amazing. I've never been a huge Celestion fan. There's so many different speakers that everybody makes. So what can I say? In all my different Johnson amps down here, they all have the Celestion in them. But I went ahead just for curiosity, because I've always wondered. But that would the Johnson amps that I use, the modeling amps, are 85 pounds already with the really light Celestions in them. Okay, they're like vintage 30s that are in there. But I've been wanting to stick these speakers in there. So I went ahead and just unplugged one side and ran, my jumper cable over into this EVM12L, and it's a difference. God, I just don't know if I could lug one of the amps around, but once it's set, I guess if you have a house gig, I've got so many of these Johnson amps that I could go ahead and just, toss a couple in there, or I could just take a 212 cabinet and just load it up with it, and just take my Johnson head. I've got a 250 watt head version sitting here. I've got a few of them. Then more Johnsons here, and then I picked up another Johnson here from the same pawn shop as this one, and that's a Marquis 60 instead of the Millennium 150s, and that's a Millennium 250 here. And then I've got more of these out in the garage, but that's probably what I'll do, just get me a regular old 212 Johnson cabinet, which they make, of course, to stick underneath the combos, and instead of my big 412s, and load it with a couple of these and take the head. That's what I'll do. But yeah, the EVMs, they make a huge difference. So again, that's basically it. And then of course there's the whole story of Paul Rivera, and you can read about it, you can Google it online. But like I said, Fender did not let him know that they were even up for sale. CBS did not let Paul know. So his time there was 4 years. Four and a half years at Fender. Then he was off on his own, and everybody, he went overseas to have people look at things and say, hey, what would you like on them? It was the equivalent of an AM show over there. And what did he come back with other than suggestions? A bunch of orders for the amps that he was showing everybody, the designs. He just went over there with papers, and he came back with so many orders that Rivera amps were born, and utilized right away. This was 85, yeah, 85, because he was done with Fender, and Fender was done, period, until 87 when the Corona factory opened up and new owners. But yeah, the boy did good in 1986. Just a couple months later, he was open for business and cranking out the first rack mount heads that everybody used. And then he's still making them today. Everybody, the country boys from Vince Gill and everybody, like I said, from Bruce Kulick of Kiss and everybody, they all went, and everybody jumped on him, the rack mount stuff. And then all the combos and everything come out, and now he's got all the boutique things. But he was just such... and still is, of course. And he tells these stories right here on YouTube also. He'll tell the whole story. So just look up Paul Rivera and Fender. And he'll explain the whole story to you better than I will, because he was there. Okay, so I'm going to get this out of here in under an hour. I can't believe it. Okay, so that's basically it. The Fender Concert 2, which again is supposed to be, falls somewhere between 1982 and 83 according to what I've been able to find. And Fullerton, California, and I got some tungsol tubes coming in that I'm going to try in here instead of these. The amp, it has all the original Fender tubes in it. I just put them in the boxes of these, and they sounded fine. Why did I change them? Just to do so and protect the other ones, so that when I do sell this, which I will, that I can just send them the Fender tubes too. So I don't want to burn them up while I'm toying around with this and making instructional videos, you know. So I don't want to turn this whole effects loop thing up to 20 and burn out those tubes. You know, I'd rather fry these and have the amp have some more value with the original tubes, you know. Sure, they're not tubes from the 1950s that people, you know, hope still arrive in their Fender amps, but it's a cool amp. I mean, you know, it's just a Fender amp, but it's on steroids. You know, it's one of the more, what would you call it? It's just one of those things that not most people know about. They don't know that these were the Rivera amps, you know, that he made them for such a short period of time, and they have a definite, I mean, it pioneered channel switching. Fender never did it before. Nobody, ever, all those years. Okay, so what was it? 60, 70, 80, yeah, 30 years they never did channel switching on an amp. Okay, until Paul Rivera did it. So, and then, you know, even with the effects loops and the whole nine, and then were to come all kinds of crazy things after that. But they used Paul's ingenuity. They didn't, I don't know what their contracts were with him as far as using his ingenuity on the amps to come, being like the evil twins and all that stuff. You know, again, these weren't his designs, but they were definitely based on his input into the whole Fender thing. So when they came back from their rest and started putting out crazy things to keep up with what was going on in the hairband days, yeah, things had to change, but Paul changed them when they needed to be changed, and then he got his own company started, and it just took off like crazy. But yeah, these 82 through 85 amps that Paul did, check them out. I gladly sold off my twin reverbs, all of them. And I love this one. I'm still going to get rid of it because I'm just not a tube guy. It's not me. But, and I should have used the volumes up and down to show you how the amp breaks up. And for those guys who play like that, which is most people, I don't like that. It's not my thing. So, you know, these are just tools for expression. Everybody knows that. So whatever guitar, whatever amp you want to use, if it works for you, so what? If you have a silver tone, everything, and it works for you, have at it. You know, as long as it does what you want it to do. Okay, so it's just, things are things. Get the job done no matter what it takes. And, but I really, like I said, I had to save the amp from the way it was there and just resurrect the damn thing because it deserves it. And now it's ready to roll for somebody who will really appreciate this. I appreciate it like crazy. There's no doubt there. It's just, like I said, it's just not my thing. I would never use this at a gig. You put pedals in it, and in front of it, it sounds great. You know, through the effects loop sounds great. So it takes pedals wonderfully. But like I said, it's just not my thing. And yes, they get really, really flippin' hot. So an extra fan doesn't hurt. Okay, they do get, I mean, egg frying hot, more so than most. So keep that in mind also. Okay, so I'll shut up. Everything else is just going to be me repeating myself as usual. So once again, Scott Grove, GroovyMusicLessons.com. I just hope you enjoyed the look into the concert too. And again, there were like 10 other amps, you know, 10 amps or so, I think, that Paul designed right during that time period. So just Google them, check them out. They're all over YouTube too, other people trying to do these. I saw a couple other reviews on this particular amp on here, so I had to add one more. Okay, so there's my little stab at it, and that's it. I'll shut up. Okay, talk to you guys later, and I gotta get a remote for these cameras. My knees are killing me. You guys take care. Okay, bye.